the closer here. It's great to be the closer. And Andrea, Deborah, and Ellen, you were terrific and so thoughtful tonight, and of course, Genesis. So I have the pleasure tonight of interviewing my colleague, Ann Lesser. She's the VP of the Labor and Employment Division at the AAA based in New York City. She's in our Midtown office tonight with me. Your office is downtown at headquarters. She has been with the AAA for 9 years and is the co-chair of our Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and she has done such great work. How many years have you been the chair of that?
Oh, gosh, I think about 3-4 years now.
Okay, yeah, excellent. And you've done great work. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, but my first question, I didn't tell you in advance, I'm sorry. Who is your favorite colleague at the AAA?
That's hard. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's you, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, it better be. Okay. So on to important questions. Okay. So how do you define diversity at the AAA-ICDR? How does AAA define diversity?
Thank you. So traditionally, AAA has defined diversity for many years by gender and race and ethnicity. However, we recently expanded that definition to include disability, which we've talked about this evening, and I think that's becoming, as Ellen said, a big inclusion into this definition, and gender identity and sexual orientation as well.
Okay, that's as of 2023?
That is starting as of January 2023.
Terrific.
But decision made in 2022.
Okay. Okay, can you explain some recent diversity initiatives taken at the AAA and provide the diversity numbers at AAA? I'm sure the audience is pretty interested in our numbers at AAA-ICDR.
Yes, sure, Jeff. So at AAA, we've got a number of committees that promote diversity. We have our AAA Diversity and Inclusion Council, which is made up of people outside of the AAA and arbitrators and AAA staff. And so that council is responsible for providing advice and recommendations to the AAA to increase diversity and inclusion. And then we have the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, of which myself and my co-chair, Vice President Anjanil Gray, are co-chairs. And this has actually recently been enlarged to include several other vice presidents because we feel it's such an important mission, and we want to make sure that, you know, Anjanil and I are two people, and we really try to do a lot, but we realize we need to expand our efforts nationwide, and so that's why we actually grew the committee. So and
you go to a lot of affinity bars, so meetings,
yeah,
because I know like CPR, GMs, I see them at a lot of these too. And so you do that on a regular basis?
Oh yes, we definitely do that. And so recruitment, of course, is part of our corporate goals, part of our executive goals. And so there's a lot of work being done consistently on all levels at the AAA for recruitment. So unfortunately, we don't have all our 2022 numbers, but I did was able to get some numbers. So our total panel diversity has actually steadily been improving every year. So in 2019, it was at 26%. In 2020, we went to 27%. In 2021 to 29%. And in 2022 to 30%.
Wow.
So it's really encouraging to see this increase, even though it's in small increments. You can see that things are changing, that efforts are being made, and that those are reflected in these statistics.
Yeah, and I mentioned you've been here for 9 years, so you've seen a pretty big change in 9 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
For sure. We don't unfortunately have the 2022 statistics yet for our listings and appointments, but I'm sure that those will be equally reflective, because these numbers, as I've seen them over the years, tend to kind of move in the same direction. Recently, you know, in many years ago, and I don't exactly have the year, but AAA established our goal of generating lists of arbitrators that are at a minimum 20% diverse. And to our knowledge, I believe we were the first arbitral institution to actually incorporate a minimum diverse list requirement into our case management system. And the goal was to generate arbitrator lists that were at least 20% diverse or more. At that time, it was in terms of gender and race or ethnicity. But we wanted to take a look and see where we actually were.
Sure.
And we tried to track our progress. In 2022, we took a look at it, and we saw that over the past few years, AAA lists have actually averaged over 30% diversity. So we were well over the 20% minimum that we set. And where we were unable to, you know, where we found that we couldn't meet that minimum requirement, Sometimes because of party requirements or arbitrator availability, we then use that information to hone in on our recruitment efforts. But in 2023, because we realized we were at that level, we decided to formally raise the threshold from 20% to 30%, so it better reflects our practices and better communicates our commitment to the minimum of 30% diversity on our list. So as of 2023, our list, that case management tool is now incorporating a 30%. And as I mentioned, we also expanded our categories of diversity.
Sure.
So obviously, there's a lot to be done. We work really hard to enhance our outreach efforts. We do everything from organizing, presenting, sponsoring, facilitating workshops and trainings. In 2022, our outreach included the National Bar Association, the National Association of Women and Minority-Owned Law Firms, the ABA Margaret Brent Awards, NAPAVA, the Minority Corporate Council Annual Conference, where we had a panel this year, National Hispanic Bar, WIDER, Racial Equality for Arbitration Lawyers, REAL. But if you go to our website, you'll see all the things we've done over the many, many years. But with these organizations, we don't just want to sponsor. We really want to look for opportunities to partner with these organizations. And so we've been partnering with the National Bar Association for many years by providing training opportunities. My colleagues, Harold Coleman, Sasha Carbone, and Arjanil Gray have done a lot of training there. With the National Association of Minority and Women-Owned Law Firms, we've also partnered with them on recruiting initiatives by providing information, education, resources to their members and expediting their applications to our panel. We've also sponsored the Margaret Brent Awards, and anybody who's attended that is an amazing event. Makes me feel very inadequate every time I do it, because there are women who have done absolutely phenomenal things. And
as have you.
I'm not that phenomenal, but it really, I mean, I sit there with my mouth open because it's unbelievable.
Now, recruitment. I just want you talked about recruitment. Has that been an issue at AAA or not? Are we meeting our recruitment goals? Are certain parts of the country difficult? So I don't have a problem in New York.
Yeah, I'm in New York too. So you're speaking to someone in a similar situation to you. But you know, it is difficult in certain parts of the country. But we just continue to expand our efforts there. And that's one of the reasons that we have expanded our committee to really focus regionally on all our efforts. And so these vice presidents will, you know, work with the other staff in their regions to work on recruitment efforts.
Yeah, correct. Okay, let's talk about the Higginbotham program that probably a lot of people might know it on this call or this program, the Student Summit that we started, I think, a couple of years ago. And what I love, the ADR, AAA-ICDR Foundation and the diversity grants that I want to tell the audience about, or have you tell the audience about the kind of money that we have that we can give to individuals that are diverse. So if you can explain those three things.
Sure. So the Higginbotham Fellows Program started in 2009, and I'm sure many people on this call are familiar with that. This Zoom are familiar with that. It was named for the Honorable Leon Higginbotham Jr., who was the first American District Court judge for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, and the 7th African American appointed as an Article III judge. And AAA created the program initially in order to provide training, mentoring, and networking opportunities to up-and-coming diverse ADR professionals who had historically not been included in meaningful participation in the field of ADR. In 2021, we actually refined the program, and we introduced a new format which begins with a 3-part self-study component, which will span over several months. And that will be followed by a 4-day intensive training at AAA's offices. What we found was people were coming and they had a wide variety of experience. So for some people, they needed all that information, and for other people, they already had some of that.
Sure.
So what we really tried to do was make the 4-day intensive training very practical, and that the learning that happened self-study prior to that. Approximately, I think, 154 fellows have graduated from the program, and almost all fellows who applied to AAA's roster have gotten onto the roster and have advanced to roster appointments.
Jen Lupo and Theo Chang, some of you in the audience might know them from the New York area.
Yeah, many people, and there may even be people who are on the Zoom here today.
Yep.
I did see somebody who attended our last Higginbotham Fellows program who was on here today. I think it was Peter Singh. So unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to delay the class of 2020. We really felt it was very important for this program to be in person, because the networking opportunities between the fellows themselves, the networking opportunities when they meet with others, was so important, and we didn't want the class of 2020 not to have the same experience. So we unfortunately postponed it, but we did do it in May 2022, and we had a very successful program, and all those people who are now partnered with mentors. Now, the deadline for our 2023 Higginbotham Fellows program is January 31st, 2023.
Next week.
So if there's anybody on here who wants to apply, it's next week. The only thing you'd have to hurry up and get is that recommendation. But
and arbitrators on this call or on this program, please get the word out to people that you know that are qualified for it. And that's a lot of our arbitrators at AAA are helping us with this.
We've sent a lot of information out to different organizations, and we sent information to former Higginbotham Fellows to get the word out. But if anyone's interested, go to our website and the application guidelines can be found there. Or if you need to find out, you can email me at lessera@adr.org. So another program that we decided to put together was, we realized that you have to go further back in the pipeline. And I forget who was talking about it, maybe it was Genesis earlier, saying that, you know, people got into ADR really sometimes in the middle of their profession or later into their profession. And what we realized is you have a lot of ADR programs now in law schools, and you have students who are coming out going, okay, this is great. I'm going to be an arbitrator on June 3rd when after I graduate. And that isn't really how it works. But we also wanted to sort of educate them. So in 2019, we launched our inaugural 1.5-day ADR summit for diverse law students. And the idea was to provide an in-depth understanding of what it really takes to become a successful arbitrator or mediator, and to take a step back behind the Higginbotham Fellows candidates and get that realistic view. And you know what? If they walked away and they said, wow, I didn't know what it meant to be an arbitrator or mediator, this isn't for me, we were happy with that outcome as well. Because what we really wanted them to know was, what do I need to do? How do I need to orient my career? You can't be a criminal lawyer and then 30 years later go, well, I think I'll be an arbitrator. Because arbitrators need subject matter expertise. You have to build that over the period of your career. And so we really wanted these law students to understand the paths that they needed to take. I have an experience of one person, I think was from Nebraska, and we do a little bit at the end where they talk about what they got out of the program. And she said, it was amazing to me to see people who looked like me doing this. I didn't know that people who looked like me could do this. So she came from not a very diverse part of the country.
Yep.
And for other people, like they said, it opened up a light for them. They saw where they had to go. It kind of took this idea in their head and it gave them a focus. So that was in 2019. Again, COVID sort of stopped us, but in 2022, we held the program again. Each time we've accepted about 20 students. We've also had people from outside of the United States, and we make it very easy for the students. We provide a $1,300 stipend to cover all their travel and their accommodation expenses. And we have several panels of diverse ADR professionals, as well as litigators and in-house counsel. It was a great program. And the students, the feedback from 2019 and 2022 was really overwhelmingly positive. Now, the Diversity Scholarship is also another amazing opportunity. This is a foundation, it's AAA-ICDR Foundation opportunity, and it can be found if you go to the AAA-ICDR Foundation website. And the foundation will provide up to $2,000 scholarship for anybody who is needs financial assistance if they're engaged in an ADR program. So you could be doing your LLM in some kind of international arbitration, I'm just going to put that out there, we would be able to help you. Or if you have to attend a conference, but you don't have the money for the fees or whatever it is to attend that conference. And so we've had a lot of applicants for that. I think we gave out about somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 last year and the year before. But this is just a wonderful opportunity. And if you can spread the word, that would be fantastic, because I just think it's great.
Yeah, no, I speak at law schools a lot, and I tell them about it all the time. A lot of people don't know about it, and I tell them, if you're going to apply for it, go for the full $2,000, because you're going to have to travel to this location. You may have to get a hotel and go to this program. And a lot of people don't know about it. We're trying to get the word out. Like you said, a lot of money has been spent on it, and it really is a good program. And it's a one-page application.
And it's not just for students, Jeff. So
yeah, exactly.
If somebody this is a fantastic ADR conference that you want to attend, and maybe it's not in your budget for your organization, but it's not in your personal budget.
Yep.
You should apply to that.
Okay, so I know we don't have much time, Genesis. Would we have a few more minutes? I don't want to. I know you have some closing remarks. Quick question. Some organizations are now doing a greater focus with respect to people of color over gender. I see that with some organizations. What's your thoughts on that? Just quickly.
Well, I think that's true. I think the focus has shifted a lot more over to people of color, but I still think it's an underrepresentation based on gender. And I don't think that that's something that we should put aside.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, did the pandemic hurt? You kind of mentioned it did hurt us a little bit, but did it help diversity efforts at the AAA?
Well, it's very interesting, Jeff, because in 2020, 51% of our new arbitrators were diverse.
Oh.
So here we were stuck in a pandemic. Maybe people had more time to think about this as something that they wanted to do. And we had more time because we weren't running around. I don't know.
Yep.
But so that was good that, I saw that. But on the flip side, because of virtual hearings or because of life going virtual, it was difficult for people, once they were on the panel, to actually go out there and get known, which every new panelist needs to do, whether you're diverse or not. You've got to go out there, you've got to network. It doesn't happen in your living room. It doesn't happen in your little Zoom box.
Sure.
So I think there was pluses and minuses.
Absolutely. Just a second, the Sean Carter Iconics brand case, the Jay-Z case, did it have an impact on diversity efforts in the ADR community?
Well, Jeff, as the original Jay-Z, I'm going to send that one back over to you.
I'll fall back at but I'll quickly answer. It has. I think it's had a big impact. The case did end up settling, but I think it's creating a lot of dialogue in the community. As you probably know, we talk about it a lot. I think on this program, we talked about it 6 or 7 years ago. We actually had a panel just on the Jay-Z case, I think. Final question, because I got to hand it back over to Genesis for closing remarks and some questions. What are the biggest obstacles you face on the diversity front?
So I think that, I've seen in the past years, and I've seen that the providers, I think the dialogue in the community has increased about diversity. I think providers' efforts have really increased. I think this is something that's at the forefront, but the obstacle always is, we can do all of this, we can recruit people, but we have to really do a good job on educating lawyers, law firms, those who are going to pick those arbitrators and mediators as to the importance of picking diverse arbitrators and mediators. And, I am getting a lot of requests just in my capacity as a vice president for, diverse lists, etc. So I can see it starting to come from the legal community, but I think there's a lot more work to be done. There is progress, but it's slow, and that's sometimes frustrating because I think we all want to run a little bit.
Absolutely.
We can't quite get there.
Well, Anne, great information. Always great working with you. Genesis, do we have time for questions, or do you want to go?
I think we have one question, and then we can get into to wrapping up. Professor Matthews?
Oh, you're on
You're
mute.
muted.
Oh, you're still muted. You went back to mute.
Right.
There you are.
Thank you, Professor Fisher, and my colleagues, Anne and Jeffrey. Thank you so much. I have a question about diversity of background. I have 24 students who joined tonight who have backgrounds of getting graduate degrees in HR and labor relations. Could you talk about some of and of course, I'm comfortable talking about this being a recovering lawyer, Can we talk about some of the panels that are non-lawyers and what kind of opportunities do you folks see in terms of talent acquisition for those folks?
Well, probably you have non-lawyers in the labor field. Is that correct? Not in the
Yeah,
employment
the
field?
labor field, there are non-lawyers, but the issue in the labor field is that you cannot represent, at least at AAA's panel, you cannot represent either management or union side. So it does pose difficulties for younger people because, you know, we all have to eat and put food on the table.
Yeah, and then in the areas of construction, yes, a lot of non-lawyers. Commercial, there are some, not a lot, in the like accountants and healthcare workers and people that are executives are on our panel also that are non-attorneys, but not a lot in some areas.
And the employment panel, I'm going to be honest, I would say 97% of that panel is our lawyers. We do have some professors and some judges, but as an HR professional,
Yeah,
I don't know if that would necessarily be able to get that person onto the employment panel.
And
Okay,
I'll
great.
just add something,
you.
which is that there are a range of ADR interventions, right? And so right now we're talking about litigated cases, but there's certainly a range of interventions for mediation and other things pre-litigation that sometimes mediators might be able to come in and work on who are not lawyers.
And I would say, actually, when you think about it, mediation is a wonderful place for non-lawyers because you don't have to be a lawyer to be a mediator. You just have to have that skill set that to bring people together to come to solutions. So,
Well, especially as HR folks who have transferable skills, whose main responsibility to resolve conflict within an organization.
absolutely.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Matthews. And Jeff and Anna, is that it for you? Or did you want to? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm going to offer the fourth and last code before I wrap up here. And so